Finally, be strong in the Lord and the strength of his might. Put on the full armor of God, that you may be able to withstand the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day. And, having done all to stand firm, stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and, as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. In all circumstances, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one, and take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying at all times in the Spirit. Armor of God is one of those projects where the story behind it is more interesting than the game itself in many aspects. The inspiration behind the project came to me in 2019, the first time I heard the Armor of God verses from Ephesians 6. I wrote down the verses, then immediately wrote game idea under it and underlined it a few times. It would take over 2 years for me to consider making it into a full project, and when I did, I was actually kind of nervous about it. I knew the project was large in scope. I didn't know if I could handle it. Plus, I was worried about being persecuted or ridiculed for my faith even. Looking back, I have no idea why I had these fears. The previous year I had actually tried twice to make a game with biblical theming. One was a puzzle card game where you had to figure out how to get to heaven. The other was an Angry Birds style game where you had to throw a Bible at demons. Both left a lot to be desired, and I knew I could do better. I hadn't gotten any backlash from them, but they were also submitted to a competition for games about heaven and hell respectively. Regardless of why I had these fears, I still had them. So, I did the one thing I knew would yield closure and prayed to God for a sign about it. Within 24 hours, my Bible app gave me the Armor of God verse as the verse of the day, and my small group leader, for the only time I can remember in the year and a half I've known him, quoted the Armor of God verses at the start of group that day. I considered that enough of a sign and committed to making the game. I would get the chance to make the game starting on February the 14th, 2021, when I joined a 7-day game creation competition with the theme of Stronger Together, but more on that later. My vision for this game was a turn-based RPG with a heavy emphasis on story. I started by reusing the same Kenny 1-bit art kit from last time. Next, I got the RPG essentials in: an overworld you can run around in, a battle system, leveling, experience points, and attributes. I took some inspiration from the Fallout franchise, which has attributes that spell out the word special, and decided to go with the acronym of FAITH. F is for faith, which is a secret attribute. You have to trust in it to see what it does. A is for attack, which is how much damage your attack does. I is for intelligence and is your mind's health. T is for timing and extends the length of any given minigame. H is for heart and it is your heart's health. Most of these are fairly straightforward, but what about the timing attribute? Well, games of this type usually have a battle system where you hit and get hit by chance alone. I don't like purely random odds of success and failure, so I created a minigame for attacking and dodging to add a skill element to the game. From there, I created a variety of different demons with different attack types. Some will attack your mind, others will attack your heart. If you go below 0 in either category, your damage gets halved until you are able to raise it back up again. Losing both or getting below an average of 0% total will give you a game over. Next, I added in the actual Armor of God. I gave each piece of armor an active and passive ability. That way, the more armor you get, the more powerful you become, or you're stronger together. With my little test level now complete and everything functioning, I moved on to creating the full game. My idea was to structure the game so that there's a tutorial, a choice of which armor piece to go after, followed by a mini-boss in that area. Then, at any time, the player can go into a gauntlet, and if successful, can face down the final boss. The original plan for this final challenge was to have the player slowly descend into hell, with each level mirroring Dante's Inferno. Early on, I realized I had no time for that and decided just for one large level for hell. With my idea solidified, I began modeling out the various locations. I added in the main character, Paul Bishop. The name's a bit on the nose, but I like it. Each of the armor piece locations tell a part of his backstory. I got the levels mapped out and added in triggers for dialogue, and sprinkled about some save spots for good measure. I found the amount of battles I got while testing was a bit frustrating, so I added in a setting to control how many you get. At this point, I wanted to give the bosses and enemies more personality, so I took heavy inspiration from C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters and designed special attacks for each of your adversaries that constituted them attacking the heart/mind with statements like, You feel fear deep within your heart. How can a man stand up to a demon? You think to yourself that your best combat ability is being a good listener. You feel like reading your Bible backwards holds a secret message. You have no success but get a headache. You begin to doubt your own existence. What color was the universe before the Big Bang? Did you leave the oven on? As you can tell, I had a good amount of fun writing these. After that, I was in the final stretch. I did a bit of polishing, followed by some balancing, since it was a little off. After that, I got the game submitted. Let's see what people think about it.
The armor of God. Together with God, you have the strength to resist the devil. And amen to that. Let's play.
That portal is going super fast.
Very fast? Okay, well, we may have an issue then.
Yeah.
Whoa! Attack the unclean spirit with your pistol. That doesn't seem like a good way to cleanse it.
How do I use my pistol?
Click on it.
Oh. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, usually it's not supposed to be that fast.
Nah, it'll be alright, it'll be alright.
You're playing on hard mode.
God, please help me. I'll do anything. Snapples.
Aw. His option was to pray. So I just got the Sword of the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nice.
Okay, select the level. Let's get shield next. The attack deals 4 damage to your mind. Okay, so where's my mind represented versus the heart? Oh, right there. There's the shield.
We can get the cool helmet. We get us another shot. Alright, yeah, I'm not very good at that.
Well, yeah, because it's also 4 times faster than it should be.
Details.
So we'll go to boots.
Whichever one you want to do.
Get boots. Oh.
He's doing a lot of damage. Okay, well.
I'm sorry, dude. I think the speed issue is too much. Let me fix it.
1 pocket fix later.
A lot easier at normal speed.
Yeah, true, very true. So maybe I'll be able to beat him. He is very mean though with this the anxiety. I don't like that.
I'm just here to remind you that your homework's past due and your family secretly hates you.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about.
It's the demon of anxiety, dude. Just trying to stir up anxiety in you.
But this is pretty cool. I like the approach, RPG-ish thing going on here, and using scripture and what the Bible talks about, the different kinds of attacks that we might receive.
I like that a lot. No, I do like it. I do like how he had like his backstory, like you knew what he struggled with, where his anxiety came from, and just like the struggles he had in life. So that was nice to see and know about the character a little bit more. That was about it.
I like that. That's a pretty cool little game. So I think it was a really cool story, really powerful story. I think what's cool about this is that this story has like, obviously it's very religious themed, which goes really well with the message. But I think a lot of people who aren't super religious could get a lot out of this too, because like, I think it has impacts in their day-to-day life as well.
Over the years, I've continued to play around with spiritual themes in my games. Something about it is uniquely moving and powerful, and I'm not alone in feeling that way either, which leads me to what might be the craziest part of this entire story. In September of 2021, I stumbled across another game called Armor of God. It was based around the same free asset pack I had used. It had a similar structure with getting the sword first, then collecting the Armor of God in any order, followed by fighting the final boss. Apparently, they had further plans that would have made it even more similar. When I discovered this game, it completely blew my mind. What are the odds of all of those things lining up? For me, this blew straight past the idea of a coincidence, past some candiness, and into a place where I think only faith could lead us. The guys who made the other game actually have their own YouTube channel called Prodigal Son Games. I have them linked in the description. Go over and give them some love if you wouldn't mind. Beyond that, I'm aware of 2 other versions that exist. One is a Mario-like platformer where flaming darts fly at you and eventually nuclear rockets rain down. 10 out of 10, easily. The other is even more of an RPG game than my version, complete with turn-based combat, NPCs, puzzles, and a dog. They just had to one-up me with that one, didn't they? If you know of any other Armor of God games people have made, please let me know in the comments below. I'm curious what else exists out there and how similar or dissimilar it may be. With my project, I went from doubting my ability to create it and being deterred by fear, to this game being one of my favorite projects to date. Out of every other game I've made, I don't think any has a story that I love as much as this one. So much so, that if I ever made a commercial game, this would be near the top of the list for games I'd make. There's only one game I think of that I'd like to do more, but you'll be hearing about that one very soon. Score-wise, I did amazing on the design category, getting 28th out of over 1,800 entries. I also scored high in fun and innovation. That being said, the game is far from perfect. I've grown a lot in my faith, as well as my game design skills since I made it. Beyond the plethora of spelling errors and Oh yeah,
You don't
there's a
need
few
it.
typos in here.
You don't need that. We don't need to know about that.
Characters being named incorrectly. I think there are major issues both on the gameplay and theological side of the project. Gameplay-wise, several of the armor pieces are infrequently used in combat. The passive abilities are fantastic, but in combat they could be way more useful. Theology-wise, the big issue, beyond a portal to hell opening, is how I described the armor pieces as artifacts. Long story short, this project was part of a challenge I was doing to make 12 games in 12 months with one story. The idea of artifacts is a reoccurring theme and a direct callback to the first game in the series, Out of Time. By calling the armor pieces artifacts and having them physically exist in the game world, I've opened an entire can of worms I didn't mean to. Simply put, God's power isn't contained within objects. It's not the objects themselves that hold the power, but God alone. For example, in Numbers 21, we see Moses lifting up the bronze serpent on a pole, and all who look on it are healed. You would be forgiven for thinking that I claim this bronze serpent is some form of artifact. It is not. I never believed it as such. The bronze serpent doesn't have any power on its own. It is simply a symbol that God used and asked people to look on with faith to heal them. It's actually an incredible story and a symbolic prophecy in the Old Testament that points us forward towards Jesus. If you're confused by what I just said, don't worry. I'll link a video in the description explaining it in depth. So, to get us back on track, I have a few major issues in the game, things I would love to go in and fix. So why haven't I? It's been 2 years since the game dropped. Well, simply put, this game is like a time capsule. It shows where my skills and abilities were at that point in time. If I was to go back and change the game every time I found an issue, I would never move on. I'd never be happy. I'd drive myself crazy attempting to achieve perfection. Back in 2021, I didn't have time for perfection. I was in the middle of a challenge and still had 10 more games to make. Plus, I had already found my next competition. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to be notified of when part 3 of this series drops, where I detail the next game in the series, Death Percent. If you're early and that video is not yet out, you can also check out my last video where I detailed the development of my previous game, Out of Time. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, God bless.